Good morning. I want to thank everybody who is joining us today for our Lake County General Plan and Local Area Plan scoping meeting for our environmental impact report. Thank you for taking the time to bring your ideas and your opinions and your thoughts either in person where we are at the board chambers at the Lake County Courthouse or on Zoom. I just want to do a few quick introductions of county staff, and then I will hand it over to our planning firm, the Placeworks, which is assisting us with this project. For county staff, I am Mireya Turner, Director of Community Development.
Hold on, they're not being shared. I'm not seeing them.
What's not being shared?
They're not being shared on Zoom. Hold on. 1 second. Why am I not seeing them?
One moment. We will take a pause for technical stuff. Excellent. We're good to go, Tam?
Yeah, okay.
Super duper. Thank you. I have with me up on the dais Michelle Iris, our principal planner, as well as Ruby Mitz, our office assistant 3, who keeps all of our minutes and agendas and meetings. And we additionally, in the audience, do have our Deputy Community Development Administrator, Shannon Walker-Smith. That does it for county staff, except for our excellent Sam Houston, who is in the back, making sure that the Zoom works and that we're recording. I will hand it over to Placework staff for introductions.
Thank you. My name is Tanya Sundberg, and I'm with Placeworks. We are the lead consulting firm for the project, and with me we also have Jacqueline. Jacqueline, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Potson-Rohr. I'm a senior associate with Placeworks, and I am the CEQA lead on the general plan E.I.R, and I'll be presenting the CEQA process slides today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. For those of you who are participating, I really appreciate you jumping in early. Our project for the updates is going to take about 3 years to finish. And what we're doing today is starting with what's called a scoping meeting for the environmental impact report. This is the analysis of the project, which are the updates on the environment. And so it's very wide ranged. And because of that, according to CEQA, we have an introductory meeting called a scoping meeting so that people can come together from the community to say, we just want to make sure you're thinking about this or about that. And a number of aspects of environmental impacts are already going to be analyzed as listed in a checklist that's given to us by the state. But because these documents, both the plans themselves as well as the environmental analysis, are so vital that they include public input and public visioning, that's why we're starting early with a scoping meeting. So the reasonable question we got after we sent out our press release notifying people of this date and time was, well, what am I supposed to be reviewing? Where's the E.I.R? Where are the documents? And those are coming. That's just a later meeting. So thank you again, everyone, for making it today. Am I doing project overview or am I handing it to somebody?
I think that's going to be me.
Awesome. Then I pass it over to you, Tanya. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. So you can advance to the next slide. So Lake County, as was just described, Lake County is preparing a comprehensive update to the 2008 general plan and all 8 of the county's local area plans. Those are listed here on the slide. They were adopted at various times between 1988 and 2010. So the update to this general plan and all 8 of these local area plans is considered the proposed project that will be evaluated by the E.I.R. Next slide, please. So first, just want to give some background about these plans that we're updating, starting with the general plan. So the general plan is a long-term plan. In this case, we're looking out to the year 2050. And this plan guides the county's decisions on a variety of topics. And I'll get to those in a moment. But the general plan is often referred to as the constitution that guides land use and development in a jurisdiction. And it's called a constitution because it provides this overarching framework for all of the more detailed regulations and guidelines and other plans that can affect how development can happen. So general plans will typically first lay out a community identified vision for the future, and then it presents goals, policies, and actions that will support the jurisdiction in achieving that vision. So it's important for the general plan to provide consistent direction so that everyone can have some certainty about the future of the community. And because the general plan addresses a wide range of topics, it also requires careful thinking and real community input and direction to balance growth, conservation, and quality of life in a way that supports the community's vision. And another important role of the general plan is to provide or document the baseline environmental conditions that are on the ground today, so that everyone has a shared understanding of the starting point for what this general plan is trying to achieve. So there are 8 topics that state law requires the general plan to address. Those are land use, circulation, housing, open space, noise, safety, conservation, and environmental justice. So the general plan will cover these topics. I do want to point out the housing element. The housing element is part of the general plan, but it is required under state law to be updated on a more frequent schedule than the rest of the general plan. So it's often updated through a separate process than a comprehensive general plan update. And that's the case with this project as well. The housing element will be updated soon, but it will be through a separate process and not part of this EIR. But meanwhile, though, housing is still an important topic, and that one that relates to these other topics that the general plan will address. So it is part of the overarching project, but the formal housing element itself will be evaluated through a separate CEQA process. And finally, it's important for, just one more point on the general plan side, it's important for the general plan to be internally consistent, and for other county plans to be consistent with the general plan so that it can effectively function in this role as serving as a constitution for growth and conservation and development, and so that community members have that certainty about the future of the community. So next slide, please. So local area plans are the other document type that we're updating. Their local area plans are also long-range plans, but they are focused on a more localized area than the county-wide general plan, and that allows them to provide policy and design guidance that's really attuned to the local area. And so they're able to reflect the characteristics that are found in that local planning area. The local area plans operate under the umbrella of the general plan, so they need to be consistent with the general plan, and they should also complement the other local area plans. And as part of that role, they serve as a more precise supplement to the general plan for the local area. Final point about local area plans is that they provide important land use and zoning information. Next slide, please. So as part of the project, we do plan to reorganize the general plan and the local area plans so that we can streamline the content and avoid redundancy. So many of the topics that are covered in a general plan are really best planned at a localized scale. And so they'll be covered in the local area plans. That includes land use, circulation, open space, conservation, environmental justice, and public facilities. And the remaining topics, both those that are required by state law for the general plan to address, as well as some other topics that are optional that the current county general plan addresses, those will remain at a county-wide scale as part of this update. And they include health and safety, noise, geothermal, agricultural resources, and water resources. So that's a summary of the project that the environmental impact report will evaluate, and I will turn it now over to Jacqueline, who will talk about the environmental impact report process.
Thanks, Tanya. So I'm going to present an overview of the CEQA process for the environmental impact report, or EIR, in the next couple slides. So CEQA, or the California Environmental Quality Act, is the state's primary environmental protection and disclosure law. One of CEQA's many mechanisms for analyzing a project is the preparation of an environmental impact report, or EIR. And CEQA does require that public agencies disclose environmental impacts of projects that have physical effects on the environment. So what is an EIR? It discloses information about the effects of a project could have on the environment, but not that the environment could have on the project. It identifies mitigation measures to reduce significant impacts, and describes feasible alternatives to the proposed project that are designed to reduce any environmental impacts. CEQA does allow for the incorporation of mitigation measures as goals, policies, and implementation actions of the general plan in order to reduce impacts to the environment and thereby making the proposed general plan a self-mitigating plan. The E.I.R. must be certified prior to approval of the general plan, and it's important to note that the information contained in the CEQA document does not approve or deny a project or plan, and its purpose is to simply provide information regarding the project's environmental impact. So environmental review documents can be at a project or program level. Project level documents are typically for specific construction level projects. Program level E.I.R.s are appropriate when a project, like the general plan or a specific plan, consists of a series of actions related to the issuance of rules, regulations, and other planning criteria. They therefore do not evaluate impacts of future construction level projects. Because the Lake County General Plan is a long-range policy document, we'll be preparing a program-level E.I.R. And this allows for subsequent projects developed under the general plan to tier off of this general plan E.I.R. to streamline future environmental review procedures. So this chart describes the big picture E.I.R. process that is mandated by state law. The Notice of Preparation, or NOP, informs the public and interested parties of an E.I.R. that an E.I.R. is being prepared and invites input on what issues should be covered in the E.I.R. We're currently in the middle of the 30-day public review period of this phase. As indicated by the star, we are at the scoping meeting to receive input on the scope of the E.I.R., but not the project itself. And this will be only one of the opportunities for people to provide input on the E.I.R. There will be opportunities in the future as well. So the next step, we'll conduct the environmental review and prepare the draft E.I.R. And then there will be a 45-day public comment period and a public hearing similar to today on the contents and conclusions of that draft E.I.R. And again, not the project itself. Following the 45 days, we'll collect the comments on the adequacy of the draft E.I.R. and prepare a final E.I.R., which will include all of the comments and responses to those comments. Then the completed E.I.R. made up of both the draft and final documents comes before the Planning Commission to review the final E.I.R., followed by the Board of Supervisors, where they will consider the certification of the completed E.I.R. So this slide lists all of the relevant topics from Appendix G of the CEQA guidelines that will be evaluated in the E.I.R. that are relevant to the proposed project. As shown, there are 18 environmental topics that will be evaluated, resulting in a fully scoped environmental impact report. For each topic, Appendix G of the CEQA guidelines includes the specific criteria questions that the E.I.R. will analyze the project against in order to determine if there are any significant impacts under each of the topic areas. As mentioned earlier, where there are significant environmental impacts, CEQA requires the E.I.R. to include mitigation measures that avoid, minimize, rectify, reduce or eliminate, or compensate for the impact. And also, as previously stated, CEQA permits the general plan to incorporate mitigation as goals, policies, and actions as part of the project that are designed specifically to prevent significant environmental impacts. So now we're getting to the end of my presentation and nearing where we'll receive comments on the scope of the E.I.R. As stated in this slide, comments are best framed as I think the E.I.R. should evaluate and then the topic, and should focus on technical issues, suggestions for alternatives to the proposed project, and potential environmental impacts, and not the project itself. And comments on the project itself are an important part of the planning process, and those can be addressed to Maria. But today's meeting is really for us to learn more about your thoughts on what our team should be evaluating as part of the environmental review process. So for submitting scoping comments, you can do so today by speaking or submitting your comments to Maria Turner via email or mail as shown on the screen. This information is also provided on the Notice of Preparation, which is posted on the county website. So this concludes our presentation on the CEQA process and the overview of the general plan project. And I'll turn the presentation back over to Maria so we can hear from those who wish to speak today.
Thank you. I just wanted to make one note in the beginning when it was listing the different mandated or elements that were included in the general plan. I didn't see the aggregate resource management plan, which is how we regulate the extraction of gravel or resources from our creeks and our quarries. But that is part of the project as well. We will be happy to take public input if you'd like to come to the podium. After we get the input from the room, we're going to go into the Zoom room. And then we did receive one written comment, which we'll make sure we read out for everybody so that we all stay on the same page.
Passing around the sign-in sheet.
And Michelle over here is passing around the sign-in sheet. If you do want to speak, please state your name, your first and last name, to help Ruby spell your name correctly in our minutes.
Good morning. I'm Elliot Hurwitz, Hurwitz. And yeah, I'm glad you caught that. I was wondering about the aggregate element. Will that be, I saw you're breaking it into two, into the general plan and area plans. Will that be in the general plan section?
It will be in the general plan section.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was also, one question I had was about the boundaries. I know that I'm from the Cobb area, and I know that we would like to propose a change in the Cobb Mountain Area Plan boundary to conform with the current boundaries of the Cobb Area Council Municipal Advisory Commission. So that's one thing I wanted to put in there. Other than that, it's just I'll just for the record say, my own concern really is that it takes a comprehensive and systems view of watersheds altogether, noting the dynamic interplay between forests and watersheds and the creeks and groundwater, and how that is dynamically related to fire protection and fire safety altogether. I also didn't see any particular reference to tribal and cultural issues, which are of significance in Lake County, and I would also like to see a specific recognition of that and consultation with the 7 sovereign tribal nations in Lake County. That's all for now. I'll be adding more in text in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elliot. Yes, we have already discussed, in anticipation of your first comment regarding changing the boundaries, we have discussed that with PlaceWorks staff. And so that's something that we'll be addressing as we go into the local area plan updates.
Great, thank you.
Oh, and then the last one, sorry, you can go ahead and sit down if you like, but the tribal and cultural issues, we will definitely have tribe communications ongoing throughout this process. And in fact, the board did approve one seat on the General Plan Advisory Committee specifically for tribal representation, which is really hard, to have one out of all of our tribes because each one of them is their own sovereign nation, but we will have ongoing correspondence with them.
Good morning. My name is Kate Schmidt-Hopper. I'm the District 1 representative on the Resource Conservation District. And I wondered how the Resource Conservation District could be involved and represented on the general plan review. I volunteer for that. Also, I was wondering how the project managers are collecting their data. We just received yesterday the RCD representatives were involved in a presentation by the CDFW on RCIS, the Regional Conservation Investment Strategy Program, through which there are grants available. So I was wondering how they were gathering their data, because this particular angle includes habitat conservation and wildlife, wild plant preservation and conservation. and the protection of rare plants, especially since Lake County has such a specific environmental biodiversity. So I'm hoping that those are elements to the environmental impact which will be considered, especially as we go into housing and maybe evacuation route establishment more options for people in our one-way in, one-way out kind of roadways. So that was my question really, was how is the data gathered by the consultant, and what sources are they using for their information in order to create the CEQA? So thank you so much.
Very good question. Thank you. I know that we've had a considerable amount of staff resource time dedicated towards getting PlaceWorks the information that they requested, but I will pass it over to them so they can kind of talk you through their process.
Well, I'll just start, and I think there's a pretty broad array of information that we consult for an environmental impact report. It covers a lot of different topics, as Jacqueline presented, and there's a lot of state and regional data, particularly related to biological resources. And so I think we're in the process of collecting all that data, and we certainly welcome information that you think would be helpful to the analysis, and would welcome you sharing that with county staff to share with us. And Jacqueline, if you want to provide any other specific information, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, I can just add on that where local information or countywide information is available, we would like to rely on that to supplement any state or federal data.
Additionally, we do have a 15-member general plan, or GPAC, our General Plan Advisory Committee. One of those seats is for environmental. And we've started receiving applications for that particular area of expertise. And actually, I got a call or an email from Roberta Lyons the other day suggesting that maybe multiple environmental expertise teams team up for that one seat to make sure that it's always represented. So I thought that was awesome. She's in the process now then of gathering applications for each person who would represent it from a number of different organizations, like the Sierra Club, Audubon Society, and then I think they intend to present that to the Board of Supervisors with a cover letter explaining this requested added flexibility. So that should be cool when they take a look at that. PlaceWorks staff, I will defer to them to answer the difference or sort of describe the difference between the GPAC and our stakeholders list, because that could be another way for you to stay updated and interacting.
Yeah, we will have a General Plan Advisory Committee, or GPAC, and that will be providing oversight and guidance directly to the team throughout the process. We're planning to meet with the GPAC at about 5 times over the course of the project when we reach key milestones. Again, to be looking for guidance and direction for our staff and consultant team as we move forward. The stakeholder list is a larger list of stakeholders that we will be maintaining over the course of the project. We'll reach out to stakeholders to share information about upcoming opportunities to participate in the process, and also asking them to help spread the word to other people who may not be on our list, to encourage participation. We will also have some stakeholder meetings throughout the process, and those are going to be on specific topics. So the stakeholders that are related to those topics that we have the meetings on, we'll be reaching out to those stakeholders for specific meetings. Those topics are still to be determined as we move forward, and as we start talking to community members, we'll have a clearer understanding of what those topics need to be, and we'll be following up to let you know.
And just to add to that, in order to stay aware, we are working on our community engagement plan right now. And so as soon as we do have that finalized, we'll have that available to the public on the Lake County General Plan website, which right now is lakecounty2050.com. Yeah, it is. Okay. And so that'll be a good way for you to sort of see what opportunities will be arising, because it's so important that you are able to link in most efficiently and in your convenience. We want to make sure we're capturing all areas of expertise.
And just one clarifying point, the website is actually still being developed. It's not public yet, but it will be soon. So we hope to have that public within the next couple weeks.
We're in that phase now that I kind of picture like we're getting ready to paint our house or build your house. You're working hard and you can't see anything from the outside. But then, so I'm real excited for once we're finally able to launch that website and the public can really see and interact at that time. So.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joanne Siccato. I use the pronouns she, her. I reside in Middletown officially, but I'm actually on Cobb Mountain. And today I'm here representing the NorCal for Health project, which is a project of the California Health Collaborative. And we have a couple things that we are interested in having to be looked at through the E.I.R. that could possibly be impactful. And they mainly have to do with tobacco and nicotine. So I'm going to read a few notes here from my notes, but we'll be sending in some written comments so to have the details there. But basically, we know that cigarette butts are known to leach toxic amounts of nicotine, pesticides, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, arsenic, and heavy metals such as lead and cadmium, potentially for years after use. Even unsmoked cigarette butts are toxic to animals and plants and aquatic life. So recent research also shows that smoked butts create localized air pollution long after use. Then there's the impact of the emerging electronic nicotine delivery systems, ENDS, or what are commonly known as vapes, to consider. So in 2019, the FDA proposed to add an additional 19 chemicals or chemical compounds to the already 93 harmful and potentially harmful constituents that are in tobacco products because of the introduction of vapes. Most are carcinogenic and about a third are respiratory toxicants. So both federal and California laws list nicotine as hazardous waste under a commercial chemical waste listing. And these products can also contain electronic ignition and burning systems that include batteries. There may be added dangers if a vape battery catches fire or explodes, as is known to happen, and if that happens near flammable gases or liquids such as oxygen, propane, or gasoline, you can imagine the impact. So I guess our request is that we take a look at where our tobacco retailers are being housed, and particularly in relation to vulnerable populations, whether it's the schools or low-income communities, where the impacts are sometimes more heavily burdened. And I can help with mapping tools there's mapping tools to be able to show where those retailers are. And then we need to consider the waste and what's going to happen with those products, because they do have a potential for environmental impact, and there's not really a system in place for how to dispose of these products. Most people are just throwing them in the garbage when they're done. So our project can help both with that topic and other health topics when it comes time for the health element. You have a health and safety element. So please feel free to use us as a resource. We'd be glad to be on the stakeholder list for those. But we do think that given what's happening in the particular nicotine and the vaping world, we need to take a look at that from an environmental perspective. So, thank you.
Thank you. Joanne has been an advocate for NorCal for Health for a number of years, and so there are areas that resonate with the tobacco and nicotine message that she brings today now in the Ukiah General Plan, thanks to her efforts. Please. This is a little less formal than like a board meeting or something.
I can get more than 2 minutes?
Yes.
I had 2 questions. On your list of issues that are addressed, the 8 issues, circulation was one of the terms used, and I'm just curious as to what I mean, I know what the word means, but how is it applied in this particular way on this particular CEQA process? And my other question, perhaps is something that you can answer or maybe find out, is what sort of environmental data, local environmental data, does the county currently have? My concern is that if state and federal data is the data that's used, that it's not going to be unique enough to Lake County's area concerns. The federal and state data might not really make much of an interest in the hitch. You know, that might not really bother them very much. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
We'll defer to PlaceWorks to explain the circulation element, and then Michelle can talk to you about our local environmental data.
The circulation element is a required topic, as you saw on the slide for the general plan. It is required to consider all aspects of circulation in the county. So we will show maps of the roadway systems and bikeways, as well as things like goods movement. So we'll look at all of these aspects of circulation, and then we'll have goals, policies, and actions that outline the county's goals related to how people and goods move around the county, and how they do that in a safe way. So typically, a general plan circulation element will work to promote more sustainable circulation through alternative forms of movement, and how to do so in a way that protects human life, and things like that. So that's the typical approach to a circulation element. And it is also a topic that's addressed in the environmental impact report, and Jacqueline can speak to that.
Yeah, so in the E.I.R circulation, the chapter is called Transportation, and we will be evaluating vehicle miles traveled, which is connected to greenhouse gas emissions, and we'll also be evaluating hazardous conditions on transportation routes as well.
And related to the local environmental data, that is one of the first steps we've been taking just in general is all this data gathering. We've been working with PlaceWorks on that and a number of different agencies, departments, and I would assume that also as a part of the stakeholder process, specifically the GPAC. I think that would be a really good opportunity to collect some of that data. And for any known, resources or certain areas of our county that have potentially something different than you find on like the CNDB database through Fish and Wildlife and Fish and Game. But I don't know, PlaceWorks, did you have anything else to add as far as the local data for biological resources and how you've gone about that before? Or does it mostly rely on the state and federal information and then any other information provided by the stakeholders or like available biological reports that we have here for the county?
So for the E.I.R, the biological resources analysis, the base starts with the CNDB statewide database, and then we zoom in on locally relevant issues like the Clear Lake hitch and other local habitats that may be endemic to Lake County. And we have a specific biological resources firm that will be doing a more in-depth study as well.
Thank you.
Just to follow up a little bit on the hitch, and also the process of informing PlaceWorks of local data. Yesterday, I attended the hitch conservation strategy meeting with a number. We're working on that actual plan, so I sent that over to them too. So if you have information, feel free to send it in. That'd be great. Anyone else in the Zoom or anyone else in the board chambers wishing to speak? Are there any hands raised in Zoom? It looks like we have Denise R.
Yes, that's Denise Rushing, Upper Lake, also representing the Lake County Sierra Club. My question at this point in the process is you've shared the elements of the general plan that are required by the state. And we know what the elements were in our last general plan. Do you have a list of elements that you're actually proposing to be included in the general plan and in the E.I.R?
Yeah, thank you, Denise. The slide in the beginning did show the required elements for the general plan.
I saw the required ones.
Just missing
I'm
the
curious
aggregate
as to whether or
resource.
not we're including geothermal elements, things that, and I know we have local topics as well.
Aside from the 6 elements that are mandated by the state, we have 4 that are unique to Lake County. That is the geothermal element, the agricultural element, aggregate resource management plan, and the one that I forget what the name is, but it's about Clear Lake. And those will remain as part of our general plan.
Okay. Are we planning a climate element, both resilience and I noticed the greenhouse gases were listed as one of the topics, but do we have a specific climate element?
We have a climate vulnerability analysis, which is part of the health and safety element, as is the countywide evacuation plan. And I will hand it over to PlaceWorks to talk about how climate is really going to resonate throughout all of these plans.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. It's an issue that we need to be looking at, especially looking out 20 years into the future. So it is primarily addressed in the health and safety element. We'll talk about the county's ability to adapt to changing climate conditions, and so we'll have policies and actions specific to that, and those policies and actions will be informed by the vulnerability assessment that Maria just mentioned. So that's a big part of the health and safety element, and part of that also is looking at individual climate hazards. But it does, as Maria implied, the climate issues are affected by and affect a lot of these other topics that are covered through other parts of the general plan. So it's woven throughout, but so it will be, it's part of circulation when we talk about reducing greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. It's part of open space and conservation when we talk about preserving lands that can sequester carbon. So it is woven throughout, but again, the primary place where we're going to really be focusing in on how the county adapts to climate change is in health and safety.
Okay, and it's not just adaptation, for example, energy use and greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, so it's 2 parts. It's reducing greenhouse gas emissions from activities in the county and also adapting to climate change.
All right, thank you.
Next, we'll ask Margot to unmute.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to learn more about the effort underway and to share some concerns. One of my concerns has to do with cumulative effects on our groundwater and having a sustainable plan for Lake County residents and visitors. I see that, and please excuse my lack of knowledge on how the general plan and the local area plans work. I'm very new to this, but I did notice that under general plan, that's where the water resources is, and I understand that under the local area plan, that is more focused on a specific geography. So I understand that, but I don't see any water resource evaluation under local area plan. So big picture, what I'm concerned about is sustainable agriculture and maintaining our aquifer and safeguarding the aquifer so we don't have families going with their wells going dry and then having to abandon their homes of decades. I have a couple of other housekeeping questions. Will the deck that's been presented today be available?
Yes.
Excellent. And that will be posted on the new general plan website?
It will eventually, as soon as we go live.
Okay, that sounds great.
LakeCounty2050.com.
Okay, and then my other question was, there was a comment about being certified. So I believe the context is that the environmental impact report needs to be certified before it can be used in the general plan? Is that, and certified by whom?
The Board of Supervisors is the final approving body for the environmental impact report. And so that process is called certification of the E.I.R.
Very good. Okay.
It's new terminology.
Right. So my other concern has to do with the use of the E.I.R. So I worry about approving uses, including land uses and uses of water resources at such a high level that it endangers the health, safety, and general well-being of local residents in another area. At a 10,000 foot level, it may be, the analysis may yield, no impact or negligible impact. But if you apply that same approval to a local area, that may be catastrophic. So that's a huge concern on my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. That was also a concern or a similar reason why we decided, instead of to do the robust general plan and then just fill in with the area plans, we actually flipped it. And so we're doing more robust community area plans and using that information to inform the general plan. So one of the things you'll see as we proceed with the local area plans is a lot of input on land use that is community-based rather than generalistic to a whole county regional area. So stay tuned. And then I also wanted you to just know that nobody who is participating in this process should ever feel bad if they are not experts on general plan development. We absolutely want all input, and a lot of it is going to be most valuable at a community level, which we do not expect our regular residents to be paying attention to this stuff on their daily basis. You know, it's enough in Lake County just to be living your life. So we will be seeking all kinds of input. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was just going to add that also the general plan document itself and the E.I.R. Will not be approving any projects. It sort of sets a framework at a higher level of what development could look like over the next 20 years. And then projects down the line may be able to tier off of those, but it sort of just sets this higher vision at a 10,000 foot level, if you will. So it won't actually be approving any entitlements or projects. So I just wanted to clarify that, and PlaceWorks, feel free to add to that if you had any other thoughts.
I appreciate that comment, but what got me concerned is that months to a year ago, I heard conversations in the county's cannabis ordinance task force where there was enthusiasm voiced for a program level E.I.R. that growers may find helpful or to eliminate elements that they needed to provide in their application. So that's what I am worried about, that this high level approval or stamp of approval saying, minimal environmental impacts, go ahead, would supplant a more considered evaluation at a more local level. Thank you.
That makes very good sense, and those are two completely different programmatic E.I.R.s. Yeah, the one that the task force has been talking about has been specific to cannabis-related businesses. So, but I absolutely hear you. Thank you, Margot, for your comments. What do we have next? Holly? Go ahead and unmute, Holly. We can't hear you. But it looks like you are unmuted. Still not hearing you, Holly. You know, she's unmuted on our end. Oh. Wait. Just lose her? No, she's still there.
Holly's microphone doesn't appear to be working.
Okay.
Oh, she just muted her. Oh, wait. She just muted herself and now unmuted. But there's no activity on her microphone.
All right, Holly, we're going to give you a minute to work on your microphone, and we'll go down to the next hand, but we'll come back to you in a moment. Jesse Robertson. There you go. All right. Go ahead, Jesse. I'm sensing a theme here. We're having some microphone issues.
Yeah, they're both having mic issues.
Okay, we'll come back to you too, Jesse. Next one is Deb Sally. I'll go ahead and... Great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm Deb Sally, and I am the chair of the E.I.R Club here in Lake County. And I want to say that, yes, we're looking forward to hopefully being able to collaborate with the other environmental groups to take one of those positions. And just a quick thing that I would like to see us consider during this whole process, whether it's with ag or transportation or whatever, is to make sure that we have wildlife corridors throughout the county that are meaningful and usable by the creatures that need to use them. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Deb. Let's try Holly again. And Deb, if you could lower your hand if you're done with your comments.
Okay, so there's some activity on Holly's microphone. She may try again.
Try again, Holly. We're still not getting you.
And Jesse is muted.
All right, Holly, we'll come back to you in a minute. Jesse? Is now muted. Nope. He's... I do that to my keyboard sometimes. All right, looks like we're having technical difficulties. If you would like to take a moment and call in, that might be a good option. And in the meantime, we did receive a written email for input. Did you want me to read it?
There you go. Holly, yes.
Oh, can we hear Holly?
Yeah, she was there. Whatever she did started working. You can do it, Holly. Oh.
All right, we're going to read the input and then come back to the Zoom room. This one is from Roberta Lyons from the Redbud Audubon Society. As co-conservation chair for the Redbud Audubon Society and a board member for the Lake County Land Trust, I would like to encourage two important ideas be included in the scope of the updated general and area plans for Lake County. As climate change progresses and the importance of native vegetation, including chaparral and our native trees, especially all species of oak trees, becomes more evident, we feel it is vital to include an oak preservation ordinance or requirement in the updated plans. Such ordinances are not unusual and many have been adopted by other jurisdictions throughout the state of California. Another area of concern is the concept of wildlife corridors. As the county continues to be developed, more and more areas are being blocked to the free travel of large and small mammals. Wildlife corridors can be maintained and/or created while still allowing development. We look forward to meaningful participation in this important planning and zoning update that could determine the well-being of Lake County and its inhabitants into the future. Signed, Roberta Lyons with Redbud Audubon Society and Lake County Land Trust. Let's go back to Holly. Ah.
Holly, at one point you did have your mic working, and then it stopped working. That was about 2 minutes ago. There you go. Okay, but I see your mic working, but we are not hearing it.
So for everyone, for anyone watching this this meeting later, please know that we are always happy to accept email as far as written comments. Sometimes, with our technical issues, that's the most efficient solution. And our email address. Is she trying to talk?
She's got a bad input.
She's trying, but it's not working.
All right, let's try Jesse one more time.
Jesse, we're not seeing anything on your microphone. Okay.
All right, so I'm sorry that's not working out, but please do feel free to send your written comments to Lake County 2050 at lakecountyca.gov. So that's Lake County 2050 at lakecountyca.gov. That we are using a new central email address so that we won't lose track of anybody's input. Is there any further input? Elliot.
Just take an opportunity to ask a question about the general plan process altogether, particularly relative to zoning. In particular, I'm thinking of as we go through our area plan and community visioning process, there are certain key parcels that we would like to see just as community benefit, have their zoning changed, for example, to maybe a higher or lower commercial density, or changing, some of the density capabilities in certain neighborhoods. I know we've spoken at a certain point about creating something that we've called a kind of rural hamlet overlay zone that would allow kind of local community-based commercial within residential areas. There's also, I note there's this huge parcel out in the eastern part of, just by the Sonoma County border, that's zoned suburban reserve. Nothing's ever been going on out there. So how would this considerations of rezoning proceed under the general plan process?
That is a great question. Thank you, Elliot. So the purpose or project that we have before us right now is the local area plan and general plan. That is the community's visioning process, which does include possible shifts of the community growth boundary where they want to increase housing density or commercial or industrial density in the future. Following the general plan or the local area plans is a separate project, which we will do probably internally, which will be the rezone or the amendment to the zoning map of the county that will address the community's new vision. So that will take place afterwards.
So this is after the general plan is completed?
Yes, because there is a rule that the zoning ordinance and the general plans have to match.
Right.
And so we will then update it, but we probably won't be doing it concurrently with the visioning process. It'll be a lot more efficient for staff if we've got all of our 8 area plans and our general plan and all of that land use visioning for the future, and then do a comprehensive zoning map amendment.
So during the area, for example, during the area plan update, we would say our vision for these particular areas in our community is such and so, even though it may not be consistent with the current zoning. And then afterwards, you'd go back and redo the zoning to become consistent with the general and area plans that have just been approved?
That is precisely correct.
So.
And it looks like Michelle can
Squirming. I was just going to say there is an opportunity, just generally speaking, as a part of the general plan update to change or propose changes to general plan designations and in anticipation for those zoning changes. Now, I don't know if we've gotten that far, but just as a general note, there is opportunity to at least look at those types of things as well. So, but you are right that the zoning part comes afterwards.
I'm just aware that in general, there's a limitation on the number of general plan amendments
Yes.
that can be done each year, and we're looking for potential opportunity to do more wholesale, reconfiguration of our zoning. So that still would have to wait till after the general plan is complete, or could that be part of the general plan adoption process?
You can do it as a part of the general plan adoption process as a general plan designation change, if that's what ends up seeming like the best route, and obviously approved by the board. But
right.
Yeah, there is an option to do that. So not conflicting with what Director Turner is saying. I'm not sure if that's already been discussed or if that's just as we really dive into these area plans. I could see that being part of the conversation if that's what the community is seeing or envisioning.
Okay. Excuse me, just to try and, because just to get myself, so I really understand this, there are general plan land use designations, which are different than the zoning designations, right?
Correct.
And they need to be consistent. So during the general plan update process, we can change the general plan land use designation, even though it's not consistent with the current zoning, in anticipation of changing the zoning after the general plan is completed. Have I got that?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
You're hired.
Because we are only allowed 4 general plan amendments per year,
Right.
it makes sense to group them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good. Thank you very much.
Related. I know that the Middletown area plan, which would be the area that is in my personal residential area, is Cobb part of that, or do you have your own? So they have their own, even though they're District 1, or portions of them are District 1. So I think the most recent area plan, local area plan, not general plan, that's going to come first in Middletown is like 2010. It's one of the newest ones.
Middletown is our newest one. Yeah.
So
2010.
is that one going to be revisited as well? I know that Lower Lake kind of needs to come first, and I think Cobb, because theirs are from the late 80s, which is almost astonishing. But will Middletown get a chance to address issues for the Middletown area as well, or will it be 2010's close enough?
Our project includes updating all 8 planning areas.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other? We are here until noon. So you don't have to stay, but we're here for any questions. Margot has her hand up. Go ahead, Margot.
Thank you. Quick question. Where is the current general plan posted, and same with the local area plans? I looked on the county website. I didn't find it.
You have to do a little bit of rooting around, but Michelle can guide you right there.
Yeah, I actually just, if you Google it, I know that sounds kind of silly, but Lake County General Plans, it pops up, but it's also on our department website. If you go to the Lake County, California website, it's Departments, Community Development, Planning, and then Lake County General Plan, and there's a tab on the left-hand side that also has the area plans.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did just receive an email from Holly. Thank you, Holly, for sending this. Hi, Mireya. I just wanted to ask about the timeline for the E.I.R., such as next steps, environmental review, 40-day comment period, etc. I think that PlaceWorks went over that in their presentation, but if you could just summarize that again, that would be very helpful. I'll hand it over to PlaceWorks.
I can take that question. So the next step in the process is kind of the longest step, which will be the analysis step creating the draft E.I.R. We'll go through all of the 18 topic areas and do existing conditions and impact analysis and determine if there are mitigation measures. And all of those will be all 18 chapters, and a couple others in the beginning and the end will make up the draft E.I.R. And that will go out for a 45-day public comment period. I am not sure about the exact timeline in that. I'm guessing it will be in 2025 after the general plan is and the local area plans are farther along in their processes.
Awesome. If I could also add to that, one of the dates of the GPAC meetings is for review of the draft E.I.R. However, that should not be the only way you, like if you miss that meeting, don't feel like you can't do input. We are still collecting input every way we can possibly get it. And so we do welcome all thoughts. The GPAC meetings are also open to the public. So there will not be a time during this review that we do not welcome public input. Any other questions?
How the GPAC is selected?
Oh, sure.
You use your microphone.
Yeah, 2 meetings ago, the board approved 15, a membership of 15, and also approved the certain categories of expertise that we're looking for, which, I knew I should have brought it with me, but I don't have it offhand. But I do know it does include an at-large, so one at-large member from each supervisorial district, education, I think the large HOAs, environment, business association, maybe. Oh, do you have it? Awesome. And it is out on the press release. Michelle's pulling up those categories, so I'll read it to you. So we are now, since we did that noticing out to the public, we're currently gathering applications at the Board of Supervisors office. And those will then be put on a board agenda. I think it's February 13th. That's a tentative date. And at that point, the board will review the applications and actually appoint members onto that committee. It is a 5-year term, but it's only it's a 3-year term, but it's only 5 meetings during that period. Oh, good, thank you. So the list includes fire district, tribal, homeowners association, education, water district, environmental group, senior support services, business association, conventional agriculture, cannabis industry, and the 1 seat per supervisorial district of public at large. Also, those are the memberships that the board did approve, but the appointment is totally up to them. So I don't want to box them into a corner in case they change their mind on the type of membership as they go. Yep, we put out a really cool flyer that hopefully is, I know it's hit all the papers. The Board of Supervisors office has been extremely helpful in helping us to get the message out. So I just wanted to give a shout out for them. We really appreciate it. Anybody else? Oh, Margot, go ahead.
Another quick question. The meeting schedule for GPAC, how will that be announced?
Good question.
Well, I think if I can respond, I think it's still to be determined, and we're working on the staff and consultant team right now to finalize our plan for the GPAC meetings, and then I think by the first GPAC meeting, we'll have be ready to share a kind of anticipated schedule.
I also expect that the GPAC will be added to the boards and commissions page from the county. So when you're looking there for like cannabis ordinance task force meetings or any of our other boards and commissions, that will be a place. And we'll probably also have it on lakecounty2050.com as well. We could also send out press releases, even though the GPAC meetings are not noticed public hearings. We can keep the public informed through the press release process.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is all I am seeing right now. but we did notice this meeting as going from 10 to noon, so we're not going anywhere. Because if somebody couldn't get here until like 11:15, we want to make sure we get that public input as well. So what do we do now? Campfire songs? Show tunes? Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. This has been really an excellent presentation. Thank you, PlaceWorks, for your information.
Yeah,
and I
thanks.
just hope that the information, the data is really localized. That's my wish.
We are thrilled to have PlaceWorks on board, and we did spend a good solid, 8 hours driving Tanya and Allison all over the county. And so they're showing a great aptitude and a prioritization of really getting to know the local data so that we end up with a product, a community visioning project that actually reflects the unique coolness about Lake County.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Excited about it, of course, and just like to offer to do guided tours up in Cobb. There's,
Yeah.
it's a special area, as they all are. And I think we could easily spend the day just kind of going into the particular issues that we've got going on up there. I know that geothermal will be a countywide element, but clearly it's one that's located within the Cobb area.
Absolutely.
Et cetera, as well as everything else. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Elliot.
Right, bye-bye.
Yes.
Mind if I ask a question?
Oh, come on up. We're here till noon. State your name for the record.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to do this. Yeah. Danny Wind, hi. I don't know, you might remember me
You look
from
familiar.
City of Lakeport. Yeah, I came a while ago,
Okay.
very disgruntled about bikes lanes. And anyway.
Join the club.
So my question is probably, I kind of already have an answer in my head. I'm assuming that you guys are going to be taking into account active transportation plan for all of this. Yep, that's what I thought.
Absolutely, and the circulation element, and PlaceWorks guys, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but the one of the benefits of a circulation element is to communicate the community's priority, which I'm expecting to reflect a multimodal transportation.
I would say that I wouldn't necessarily see the community reflect that. We don't really have any organizations right now that really push alternative forms of transit. But that being said, I just know that there's a large population of people that do not walk or bike anywhere because it's generally unsafe. So no, I think you guys have that in mind. So
Yes.
more rhetorical, if anything.
And feel free to reach out, Danny, to anybody who's ever tried to ride a bike in North Lakeport or in a lot of our other areas, because those are the voices I think that will definitely we need to hear.
I'm talking a little bit to Caltrans's pedestrian bicycle advocacy committee. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Where that goes.
And Jesse's here from Caltrans today.
Oh.
He just can't actually say anything to you.
That's right. Cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
Cool. Thanks for coming today.
I will just add on that note that we also are required under state law, the Complete Streets Act, to make sure that the general plan addresses all modes of transportation and the ability of all users to access all modes. So that will be a required component.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I guess enjoy your time until noon.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming today. So how's it going, Tanya?
Going well. Yeah, that was really great to hear from directly from folks in the community.
I like the pictures that you had on your slides.
Good. We will, I was just thinking as a follow-up, we will make sure we add that missing component from the general plan to the PowerPoint before we post. So sorry about missing that.
I had a scared moment where I was like, I think that was included in our project.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, that would be awesome. Thank you. I do have my email up. Jesse, if you wanted to send in any written emails, my email address is mireya.turner, that's MIREYA.TURNER @lakecountyca.gov. Or Michelle's, which you may already have. We're happy to read out anything you might want to send us. Mental note, we'll make this 1 hour next time we do a general plan update.
Sometimes a lot of people come.
Yeah. Oh, so I can announce. Let's see, Dana just sent me an email. Come on. Don't. There is a 2024 guided nature walk at Anderson Marsh State Park. Tomorrow? Let's take a look. So for our PlaceWorks people, Anderson Marsh State Park is down in the Clear Lake area. We kind of pointed it out as we drove by quickly through Clear Lake and into Lower Lake. Or no, sorry, out of Lower Lake and past Clear Lake. So they have periodic guided nature walks, and they're really cool because usually the people who are guiding them are birders. And we have a ton of different bird varieties to see. And I see that Margot has her hand up. Go ahead, Margot. You can go ahead and unmute, Margot, if you have something to add.
Sorry about that. Another quick question. So I know that the housing plan is a separate effort and it's only tangentially related to this effort, but I was looking for Lake County's current housing plan and I couldn't find that either. Would I find it in the same place under departments and community development?
The housing element is part of the general plan, so let's see where we're finding it right now for you. That's the zoning ordinance. Right there. Yeah. Yep, chapter 4. So if you go onto the planning webpage, on the left-hand side, you'll see a link to the Lake County General Plan. Click on that, and chapter 4 is the housing element.
Excellent. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I think Jacqueline also shared the link in the chat.
Oh, she did. Yeah.
Bottom there.
That's awesome.
Yes, I shared the link to the general plan webpage and the local area plan
Thank you.
webpage.
So this next guided nature walk is Saturday, February 10th. It is going to be led by Henry Bornstein, a certified California naturalist and volunteer state parks docent. Bring binoculars and meet in the parking lot at 8:15. Cool. I haven't taken the walk out there, but I did go once when they opened the house. The house is totally cool.
I've never been. I've been out to the area, but not the house.
Oh, your kids would love it. Yeah. In fact, our just most recent former county surveyor, Gordon Haggett, he's a Lower Lake boy, and so he remembers playing in that house when he was a kid. Yeah. Yeah. I think Tanya's already heard that story. She's heard pretty much every story I have about Lake County now.
It's been fascinating. I really enjoy learning.
It's a really cool county. When I first started working in government, I was down at the board's office as the assistant clerk to the board, and I would look through these humongous books of minutes from when Lake County started, and there are family names in those books that you still see. You still know people of these families. So on one hand, I feel like Lake County is my hometown now, but I've only been here for 23 years, so I also feel like a newbie compared to some families. Yeah. Yep.
And also show, do you want me to join and show our, where all the stuff is?
The draft website?
No, our existing.
Oh, sure.
Or did you want
I don't have anything important to talk about. So. I'm just filling dead air. And I know nobody wants to hear me sing.
Okay, I'll spare us all. Oh, did I join 3? Can you make me Is it under your
Yeah, it should. Yeah, I just want to make sure I mute myself. Okay. Anybody feel free to just interrupt me at any time. I just didn't want us to all have to just stare at each other. So if I share my screen, I was just going to show, since we have time here, where our general plan is currently, if that's helpful. So if you go to our Community Development Department's website, you go to Planning here on the left, and then on the left-hand side, we have our current general plan, and you'll see all of the different elements. Chapter 4 is housing, to answer your question, Margot, and you'll see all of the other elements we have. A series of maps, which can be really helpful, particularly for the growth boundaries and some of the different resources, seismic areas, fire and natural areas, water resources. I know those are some comments that came up today so far. And then to dive in a little bit further, you hit Lake County plans. And it gets into our local area plans here. So if you click on one, I'll just click on Lakeport. It'll show the date, and then it just has the entirety of the PDF of each of the plans. So if anyone wants to get familiar with any of those, that's where you would do that. We also have, I was trying to see where the map is that shows the different boundaries. If you are unsure of what plan you're in, maybe it's here. Or actually, I think we have it in the NOP, more accessible. Bear with me for a moment here. There we are. And this is also, I believe, available online, but I'll just pull it up now. So you can see the 8 area plans and the areas that they cover within those boundaries currently, anyway. What else? Did you have any other questions, Margot, about how to access anything online? Or did anyone else? I can stop sharing.
No other questions, but thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. And then, yeah, once available, let's see what happens if you go to it now. Curious. Lake County 2050.com, is that what it is? PlaceWorks? Yeah. So eventually this will be the live website for our general plan and all of the updates, which will be nice. I realize I'm not sharing my screen anymore, but it's not live currently. And Tanya, can you remind me when we think that might be live?
We're targeting early February.
Okay.
I think it's just a process of making sure it's gone through a complete review, and then we'll be able to post everything.
Am I allowed to show the preview of what we have so far, or?
If you're comfortable doing that, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, let's do it. I will share my screen again. You see that? Oh,
probably something I'm not supposed to do. Habit. This is the draft website that we're currently working on with PlaceWorks. Give it a second, it's loading here, but it will give a preview of what it will look like in the next couple weeks. There it goes. Look at that beautiful website. So nice and clean and easy to use is what we're going for. So we have the title up top, and then it will have a series of links here, tabs at the top, events. This will be a place I imagine will also have those GPAC meetings listed. Past meetings and materials is where this Zoom and materials would be located. Documents, maybe blank for now. Nope, we do have some of them. So up here, I would imagine a link to maybe our current general plan, and then any of the documents that we end up working on will be posted on there. Online participation, there's a spot to join the mailing list if you're not already on it. A spot to submit comments. I know in the last general plan I worked on, we also had some surveys online, so that's a potential option. We have a contact us with Mireya's contact information, and then that general email, which will be really helpful, and then additional resources. It looks like a series of links to some of our agencies and other resources that may be helpful. So again, this is just a preview, but this is what we are working with for now. So that'll be really nice, just central location to come and get information about the general plan and where we are in the process, as well as any documents and resources. And then we also have links on the left for the climate adaptation plan. I know the safety element is one of the first things we'll be working on, so all of that information will also be available. PlaceWorks, did you have anything to add about the website and sort of the vision for it, or did I mostly cover it?
I think you covered it really well. I don't really have anything to add.
Great, so look out for that. I imagine maybe I'll do another email blast to everyone when it's live, or we'll announce it in some way so that everyone is aware when it's up and running.
Good idea.
Yeah. Oops, I think I just closed out of that. But
I'm looking forward to finalizing our community engagement plan. I've been sharing with different community groups about what I think is in the plan, but it'll be nice to finally have it all ironed out just so that everybody can start planning ahead for when they want to connect.
do you want me to preview that?
Nah, we can wait.
Good jokes.
Good jokes. So dog walks into a bar. No. Well, what else can we announce? Community development wise. We are working on a new electronic permitting system. Yeah. For anybody who hasn't heard us already, totally excited about this for the last few months. It's going to be kind of like this process. A lot of the background work people won't see yet. So we have a lot of transferring of data and transference of documents. But in the end, we're hoping to have a tool for the public that will be easy to use, that you can find out, like say your neighbor's really bugging you because he's building an addition to his house or something. You can click on an APN. Ooh, Margot's back. Yeah. Go ahead, Margot.
You're addressing a topic that I wanted to ask about at yesterday's Board of Supervisors meeting. So I am very excited about your project. And my question is, so will that handle all historical permit records, or what's the timeline for trying to get all permits online?
Your question is timely because this project is being led by our Deputy Administrator, Shannon. So she's just come up to the podium to address that.
Excellent, thanks.
Thanks, Margot. Yes, we are working towards a plan to have the new database software called OpenGov be our single source of truth, where all of our historical planning, building, and code enforcement records will live in the future. So the timeline on that is approximately a year to implement both the new public-facing portal, where folks will be able to apply for permits and submit planning applications and code enforcement complaints directly on the portal, and to have the historical documents in the database as well.
Bravo.
Thank you.
What else? Talk about I guess we already talked about the climate plan and how we're working with other cities and stuff.
Ah, yeah.
It's exciting.
So, 30 minutes. All right.
Coming up with topics.
One thing I forgot to point out during our meeting is that the climate vulnerability analysis, as well as the countywide evacuation plan, are going to be regional documents. They're valuable tools then that our cities can use in their planning documents as well. It just made sense because climate doesn't stop when you hit city limits. So we're real excited to see a comprehensive, like holistic report on those things. What else?
We met with the cities.
Yes, we've had the kickoff meeting already with the cities, and PlaceWorks gave them their to-do list and all the data that they needed transferred there. And so I've seen a number of emails going back and forth that they're getting their progress. I anticipate that data transition or transference will be completed by the end of this month. Is that correct? I think I saw that in an email. But anyway, it's ongoing, and it is that same behind-the-scenes work that will someday be highly visible and accessible and valuable to the community. What else?
I think the next step that we're doing, if I'm remembering correctly, is collecting all the information from the cities and the county to be able to start on the evacuation routes analysis. Is that correct, PlaceWorks?
We've asked the cities to provide us with any local data related to both the evacuation routes and the vulnerability assessment so that we can accurately come up with all of the populations and community assets that may be affected by different climate change hazards.
And can you clarify what some of the assets are, or what types of assets we're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking at a couple different categories. We'll look at buildings and infrastructure, so the built environment. We're looking at ecosystems and natural resources, including groundwater, which I've heard in the meeting today, and other water resources. We're also looking at key community services, so things like public transit access, water and wastewater services, emergency services, and then also economic drivers. And recognizing that Lake County has a diverse range of economic drivers, so we'll be including that diverse set as well.
And can you explain how that's different or similar to tied into the general plan in the safety element and the climate action plan requirement?
Yes.
I'm quizzing.
So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying I'm quizzing you, pop quiz. But I think those are areas that I was confused on at first, so I think it's just helpful to go over if you don't mind.
Yes, definitely. So the state requirement, SB 379, does require that with the update of a safety element, in this case a health and safety element, that a jurisdiction, a climate vulnerability assessment to look at adaptation and resilience issues in a jurisdiction. So the climate vulnerability assessment in this case will cover the unincorporated county as well as the cities of Lakeport and Clear Lake, and will help meet this requirement. And this will serve as one of the two bases for all of the foundation for the goals, policies, and implementation actions. And the evacuation study will help the county and the two cities meet the requirements for two laws, SB 99, which requires the identification of evacuation constrained residential areas, and AB 747, which is more of the whole evacuation analysis, identifying the capacity, safety, and viability of evacuation routes and locations. And that will be the second foundational document to help come up with the goals, policies, and implementation actions for the health and safety element. And then it will also go into the climate adaptation plan, or the CAP, which will be have strategies to increase resilience, and it'll be consistent with the safety element as well.
Great, thank you. Did anybody have questions about all of that? That was a lot of information, thank you. No. Okay.
Talk about local area plans.
What else? Yeah, I've got more coffee. I can keep a...
So this spring, we will launch our local area plan outreach. We're going to start with the town halls, those municipal councils, and then we'll branch out from there. Kelseyville is in the process of talking about whether they want to establish a town hall meeting. So I really look forward to attending that information or first meeting this Saturday to talk about not just how town halls are important for this process, but also how they do act as advisory boards on a number of land use projects. So I'm hopeful there that they will do that. I spoke to KBA, the Kelseyville Business Association, and that's a really good group, but they're only focused on, like Main Street and economic development. And so we're looking for a representative body that might be a little more broad. And again, that's only as a launch point. We want to branch out past the municipal halls to gather as much input from residents in those planning areas as possible.
And where is that meeting? And when?
I don't know, Saturday, yeah, 10 o'clock. I don't know, I'm not in charge of that one, I'm just showing up. Let's see, where is it? I'm going to announce something, I should say so. That is Saturday, 10. Still don't know. I'll have to text them before I head out so I know where I'm going. Okay. But if you want more information, please contact Supervisor for District 5, Jessica Peiska. And the number for the Board of Supervisors office is 707-263-2580. They can transfer you to Jessica's voicemail, which she checks regularly. Or you could email her at jessica.peiska, and Peiska is spelled P-Y-S-K-A, at lakecountyca.gov.
Do we talk about how somebody can apply for the GPAC?
I would be happy to go over that. So there is an advisory board application that you can find on our website, which Michelle is going to find for us in just a moment. We will be taking applications probably up till the hearing on the 13th. Oh, February 16th? So we must not be doing it on the 13th. Maybe the end of the month then, February 27th. Anyway, if you are interested, you have until February 16th to submit. Yes, Margot, I know I just messed up. Sorry. I'll give you a chance to talk in just a second, but let me get the right info out there. So you have a chance to get your application in until February 16th. This can be submitted electronically. The Board of Supervisors office can actually help you, or there is a link on the press release, but you're going to go to the lakecountyca.gov website and click onto the Board of Supervisors page. Margot, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Maria. I wasn't going to say anything else, but comment on, can you talk about the time commitment? I know there are 5 meetings, but to be effective, you should do your homework. I mean, a member should do homework, right?
Indeed, we will have expectations that the members of the GPAC will come prepared. So we'll get them the documents that we're looking for input, such as the draft E.I.R, draft area plans, and things like that, far enough in advance that they'll have time to review them.
If there are only 5 meetings for this project, what are they spaced out over 3 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's kind of strange. Okay.
Well, don't worry. There's still going to be a lot of ways that we can get public input. Like the GPAC is going to be that membership that just sort of chimes in at certain times when we have draft or almost final documents. But we will be gathering all of the input from a much larger pool, like all residents who will give me the time of day and give us some input all along the process too. So it's not like the public's going to be shut out because the GPAC doesn't meet very often. They have a very specific purpose.
And community events, and I think
Oh, yeah.
other
Thank you.
events and opportunities to give feedback that will be a part of our community engagement plan.
Yes.
It won't just be those meetings, there'll also be opportunities online, as I mentioned, maybe a couple surveys. What else am I forgetting, PlaceWorks? Yeah, community events.
I promise you're going to turn around when you see me coming after a while.
Yeah, you're
You're
going to be
so
sick of us.
tired of me looking for your input.
And then if it's helpful, I can share my screen to show you where that GPAC application is. Do you think that's helpful?
That is absolutely helpful.
Alrighty, let's do it. So this is the, I'll start with, this is the press release that went out. Happy to send it to anyone who didn't receive it for some reason, but goes over the GPAC, also has the deadline up here, February 16th, and then at the bottom has where the applications can be found. So going to that link, it took me here, and for a moment I was trying to find where it is and found it on the right-hand side here. I believe advisory board application. Let's see what happens. Is this it, Mireya? It's just the general advisory board application?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
And it should be the 3-pager that has the Code of Ethics on page 3.
1, 2.
Conflict of interest on page 2 and Code of Ethics on page 3. Yep, that's it.
So you should be able to fill that out and submit it
Electronically
if interested. And again, that was at the Board of Supervisors link here on the right-hand side under quick links. What else? We're doing pretty good.
We are. What other cool stuff?
Can't see who's on the Zoom because I can't see that far. We still have other participants besides staff? Okay, great.
Awesome.
Unless, I don't know, Jesse, if you wanted to try to unmute again, or if that ship has sailed, I emailed you to let you know you can also submit comments or questions just by replying to my email.
Oh, there it is.
Yay.
All right, Jesse's email.
He's with Caltrans.
With Caltrans. Thank you for inviting Caltrans' comments. We will be sending comments in writing in follow-up to today's meeting. Some initial thoughts include much of State Routes 29 and 53 are access-controlled freeway and expressway. Portions of State Route 20 may be access-controlled as well. We have historically had conflicts between land use zoning and access rights. Allowing commercial, industrial, multifamily, or public road approach standards may be inconsistent with the deed restrictions to public rights of way for parcels that were zoned for agriculture or single-family use. These deed restrictions must be addressed before zoning changes or land use entitlements can be considered. We can provide mapping information about the location of access openings and the limits of access control in a follow-up email correspondence. Unfortunately, because of audio issues, I missed the entirety of PlaceWorks' presentation. From the ensuing conversations, vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, may be considered as part of the community planning process. We will have more detailed comments with best practices for land uses that support reductions in VMT. Some questions or topics that we may want to discuss with the county during the next phase of the general plan update development include previous efforts to influence VMT in Lake County, data sources for VMT, thresholds of significance for VMT impacts, and VMT mitigation. I appreciate Tanya Sundberg's acknowledgement of the 2008 Complete Streets Act and the commitment to make multimodal planning a focus of the general plan update. We can recommend local, regional, and state transportation plans that may be incorporated into the general plan's circulation element. We will also share a list of projects that Caltrans has in planning our project or project development pipeline that may result in changes to the county transportation network. We will request that the county incorporate the proposed projects into the long-term vision for the circulation element. Caltrans has changed the way we view transportation safety. We have adopted a Vision Zero goal and will implement this goal by using a safe systems approach. More guidance on Caltrans' safety program will be included in the near future. We may want to schedule a transportation scoping meeting to look at the scope of work for developing the circulation element. CEQA provides a provision for Caltrans to request a separate transportation scoping meeting with the lead agency. This will allow us to provide input prior to conducting a transportation analysis and the release of a public draft of the E.I.R. Thanks for the opportunity to comment, Jesse Robertson. That was good stuff. I will forward that email to PlaceWorks as well as our general email box.
Yes, I just forwarded to PlaceWorks. I'll also forward it to the email box. And Jesse, I emailed you the presentation a little bit ago, but let me know if you didn't receive that. And PlaceWorks, was there anything you wanted to say for now in response to that? I know VMT is a part of the E.I.R. analysis.
Yeah, I think those are all great comments. I look forward to additional, continued coordination with Caltrans. Also just want to point out that Farron Piers is a sub-consultant on our team who will be helping to prepare the circulation element and has real robust expertise in this area.
Great. And as far as the E.I.R., if there is any coordination that we all could do with the thresholds of significance and mitigation measures for VMT, that would be welcome. And of course, in coordination with county staff.
Great.
Speaking of county staff, I neglected to also introduce a member of our general plan update team. She's attending virtually today, but that is our senior planner, Laura Hall. Just want to make sure she's included. We have a few other members of our staff, but that's because they are planning geeks and they just want to stay up to date with everything we're doing. And yes, Dana, I include you. She's one of our awesome building technicians. So we had, our department is just really excited to jump into this community vision driven process. So hey, Wilda, I don't know if you can talk, but we have Wilda Schock in the Zoom room. She has been a long-serving advocate for economic development, not just with the city of Lakeport, but actually pretty much all over the county for a number of years. So Wilda, I don't know if you have any comments, but I would love to hear your thoughts about how this community visioning process would support economic development, if you feel like it.
Thank you, Maria. I also did not hear the presentation, but overall, I think it's very important to engage and inform the community as much as possible. So I think what little I did hear and what I know otherwise of how you're approaching this, I think is terrific. So I endorse it thoroughly and completely, and I'm glad to see that the work is already underway with the cities. I think any of that communication on a regular basis is going to be very important. And the cities are undergoing updating of plans, and City of Lakeport is working on its new economic development strategic plan for the next 5 years. So, and with the county working on its SEDS, all of this is dovetailing right now. So I think it's very timely. And thank you for the opportunity to cheerlead and encourage your efforts.
Thank you, Wilda. Ruby is going to make note right now that if you're not already in our stakeholders group, we are adding you. So you just to make sure that we keep your input as we go along.
Thank you. I'll be glad to review what I can and give input when appropriate.
Awesome.
I'm also happy to email all of the participants the PowerPoint, if that's okay with PlaceWorks, just to make sure that everyone got it. I think it gives a really good overview of the process and the project. So I'll be sure to do that. Oh, perfect. Yes.
I'll put it added into the beginning or the end of the video.
Wonderful.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Sam.
Oh, good. Just received it.
Trees?
Tree has a thing.
I don't think we have anything to report at that point. What else? What else? Oh, we do have a good planning commission meeting coming up tomorrow. Let's see, can we pull up that agenda? There is one item that the staff is going to request a continuance. We still need to fine tune the staff report for that. And which one was that one?
Rancho Novoa.
Rancho Novoa, yes. It's a proposed event center, an event location with camping sites in Blue Lakes. So tomorrow, the Planning Commission will select their chair and vice chair as a non-timed item. They did not do it last meeting because they didn't have a full body, which I think is really nice because usually when you miss a meeting, you get volunteered for stuff. But so they showed surprising restraint. We then have an administrative appeal for a lake bed encroachment permit. These are rare on our planning commission agendas, but in water resources where they handle the lake bed permits, the due process for an appeal of a permit is through the planning commission. And so that item will be handled by Water Resources and Public Works Director Scott DeLeon. We then have a major use permit for Sky High Farms mixed light cannabis cultivation on Sky High Ridge Road in Lower Lake. And 1 year extension for a major use permit for the Sunrise Shore Mutual Water Company. The applicant there is Brelgy Engineering, which they always do really good work. After that is another major use permit for cannabis related business. This is Dezel Ranch. For approval of outdoor cannabis cultivation as well as mixed light cultivation. So Planning Commission, all the commissioners are reading furiously today, and we do expect a very robust discussion on a number of items tomorrow. What else?
Anything going to the board?
Yes. Well, yes, there is. Thank you for asking. Yeah. The recommendations of the Cannabis Ordinance Task Force, which include cannabis-related businesses, the appropriate or the recommended zoning districts in which those cannabis-related businesses could take place, as well as the required permitting level for those businesses, does go before the Board of Supervisors on February 6th. This will be great because it's actually the first chance that the task force has had to make recommendations about updating the overall cannabis policy regulations. The recommendations that go before the board have previously been vetted by the Agricultural Advisory Committee as well as the Planning Commission. what will be helpful when the board does consider this is whatever ends up getting approved by them as far as business types and zoning districts and permit levels are going to go back to the task force for development of the general and development standards for those permits. And so we're hoping then to integrate these into a draft ordinance, or our expectation, our plan, my goal, is to integrate both the recommendations of the board as well as the design and development standards into a draft ordinance that will then again get vetted by the agricultural committee as well as the planning commission, and then to the board for approval. Those meetings are all public, and community development will do the noticing for the planning commission as well as the board meeting, and the agricultural department will do noticing for when it goes before the agricultural advisory committee. Thank you. Please.
We also received an appeal to the planning commission's denial on January 11th of what's referred to as Higher Ground Farms at 3545 Finley East Road in Kelseyville. It's a cannabis project that was denied by the Planning Commission. The applicant submitted an appeal that will be going before the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, March 5th at 10 a.m. So that's something else to look.
There is also an appeal of the revocation of use permit 19-15 for Legendary Farms that is going to go before the Board of Supervisors on February 27th. So the Planning Commission last year approved the revocation of a cannabis-related use permit for cultivation on Soda Bay Road at what is known by the community as Rancho de la Fuente. And that was appealed in a timely manner. And so the board will hear that on February 27th. For people interested in finding out more about scheduled public hearings, our agendas are posted no less than 72 hours prior to the hearing. And so you can go on to the county website, click the agendas and minutes link. Then when that comes up, what you'll see in front of you is mostly the boards and commissions listed below. But before that, just a little above that, you'll see a link to the agendas for the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. So if you click on that link, that's how you can access the staff report and supporting documentation of items that are going onto the Planning Commission or board agendas. Margot.
I have a question.
Excellent.
Could you comment on the threshold required to revoke a cannabis permit?
Good question. The board passed ordinance, I think it's 3106, I'm not sure. They passed a couple ordinances identifying a high severity violation. Included in that list would be cultivation without a permit or license. In the case, there are a number of other things, but that's the one that is pertinent to this particular revocation. When community development staff was doing their annual compliance monitoring, they went for the purpose of monitoring the approved 1 acre of outdoor cannabis cultivation. And when they got to the site, found an additional over 3,300 plants also getting cultivated on that site. That qualifies as a high severity violation, which does require that we take a request for revocation to the Planning Commission.
There's language in the ordinance that says that if an applicant does not adhere to the ordinance, the permit can be revoked.
That is standard language in all of our conditions of approval, where if the operation of the permit or activity on that property is not consistent with the conditions of approval or the project description, or also could be considered a threat to public health and safety, then yes, it could be revoked. However, further in the zoning ordinance, in a different article, it does list the process for such a revocation. And so that's the process that we're going through now, because we want to make sure that our permittees have their due process rights. So I can't just wake up one morning and be like, you're done. You know, I consider this a threat to public health and safety. I have to go through the process, and the actual deciding body of the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors, they're the ones that consider that and make that decision.
Very good. Thank you.
A pleasure. 1 minute. Well, thank you, everybody, for hanging in with us this whole time. We're going to sit here for less than 60 seconds, and then we're going to adjourn our meeting. Ooh, Wilda, you've got your hand up.
No, I was just going to do a thumbs up and thank you for making all of this public. I think that's a very important part of the process as well. So looking forward to being included in your stakeholders list. Thank you.
Thanks, Wilda. This is a really cool opportunity where not only is it mandated by law, but we really do want and prioritize public input. So hopefully you will see that as we continue through the next 3 years. Stay tuned. All right, I think that's going to close almost, 15 seconds? It is now noon, and that concludes our scoping session. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.